In the 1500s, Istanbul was not merely a city. It was the jewel of the Ottoman Empire, the crossroads of continents, the meeting place of East and West. Once Constantinople, the capital of Byzantium, it had been conquered by Mehmed the Conqueror in 1453. But by the time of Suleiman the Magnificent, it was transformed into one of the largest and richest cities on earth. Travelers from Europe, Asia, and Africa all spoke of its grandeur, its markets, its palaces, and its vibrant streets. To walk through Istanbul was to feel the pulse of an empire that stretched across 3 continents. This is the story of how its people lived, in their homes, in their markets, in their places of faith, and in the shadow of their sultans. Every morning, as dawn broke over the Bosphorus, the call to prayer echoed from hundreds of minarets. The faithful made their way to mosques, from the Grand Hagia Sophia, now converted into an imperial mosque, to small neighborhood masjids. For Muslims, religion shaped the rhythm of the day: prayer, fasting, charity, and law. But Istanbul was not only a Muslim city. The millet system gave Christians and Jews autonomy to live under their own religious leaders. Each group managed its schools, marriages, and courts, while recognizing the ultimate authority of the Sultan. Orthodox Christians still worshipped in their churches, Armenian monks copied manuscripts, and Jewish scholars debated in synagogues. This diversity gave the empire both stability and richness, though tensions were never absent. Festivals of different faiths lit the calendar. Ramadan nights with lanterns strung between minarets, Easter bells ringing in secret chapels, Passover meals shared in Jewish homes. Religion was woven into the city's fabric, giving it rhythm, variety, and depth. For most citizens, life revolved around the marketplace. The Grand Bazaar, founded in the 15th century, was already a sprawling labyrinth of shops and alleys. Merchants sold silks from Persia, carpets from Anatolia, jewels from India, and glassware from Venice. The Spice Bazaar overflowed with the scents of cinnamon, saffron, pepper, and cloves. Shoppers haggled loudly, testing the quality of goods, weighing coins, bargaining for fair prices. Every trade was organized into guilds: bakers, tanners, weavers, and blacksmiths, each bound by rules of honesty and fairness. Guild members cared for each other, provided dowries for daughters, and buried the dead. Street vendors carried trays of simit, sesame bread rings, or pitchers of sherbet, offering refreshment to passers-by. Money changers handled gold ducats and silver dirhams, their scales carefully watched. The bazaar was more than commerce. It was the city's heart, where gossip spread, news arrived, and strangers met. Away from the bustle of markets, families lived in modest wooden houses. Houses were often 2 stories, with latticed windows and shaded courtyards. Inside, carpets lined the floors, cushions served as chairs, and low tables were set for meals. Meals were simple but nourishing: bread, cheese, olives, lentils, and seasonal vegetables. On feast days, families enjoyed lamb, pilaf, and sweet pastries drizzled with honey. Women gathered at public fountains to fetch water, exchanging news and stories. Children played in courtyards, chasing each other or flying kites. Fathers worked as craftsmen, sailors, or traders, while mothers managed the home. Marriage was central to family life, and weddings were celebrated with music, dancing, and feasts. In the 1500s, a new habit spread: coffee drinking. The first coffee houses appeared in Istanbul, where men gathered to talk politics, listen to storytellers, and sip the dark, bitter brew. For many, this was the beginning of a social revolution, and soon, coffee became inseparable from Ottoman identity. While common people lived in wooden homes, above them all loomed Topkapi Palace. It was more than a residence. It was a city within a city. Here the Sultan ruled as emperor, caliph, and commander of armies. The palace housed thousands, cooks, scribes, guards, scholars, and artists. The kitchens prepared meals for 10,000 mouths each day, with vast cauldrons bubbling with rice and stews. The divan, or council chamber, echoed with the debates of viziers and officials. The harem, mysterious and guarded, was home to the Sultan's family, concubines, and the powerful Valide Sultan, mother of the ruler. The Janissaries, elite soldiers trained from childhood, were both protectors and threats, wielding great influence in palace politics. Ceremonies dazzled foreign ambassadors, processions with gilded horses, musicians, and jeweled robes. For ordinary citizens, the palace was distant, yet its power touched every life. The Sultan was both protector and shadow, the axis on which the empire turned. Despite its power, the empire was not only about war and politics. Culture flourished in Istanbul's streets and gardens. Poets wrote verses celebrating love, nature, and divine beauty. Even sultans, such as Suleiman, composed poetry under pen names. Music filled gardens, with the sound of ouds, flutes, and drums. Festivals marked the calendar, weddings, religious holidays, and imperial victories. Wrestling matches drew cheering crowds, while storytellers captivated audiences in coffee houses. Artists illuminated manuscripts with gold, recording the empire's history in words and images. Calligraphers turned verses of the Quran into masterpieces of flowing script. Children laughed in public squares, kite strings in hand, while traders shared tales of faraway lands. Life, though hard, was also filled with joy, community, and color. Yet life in 16th century Istanbul was not only splendor. Fires often swept through the wooden neighborhoods, destroying homes in minutes. Plague struck the city, carried by ships from distant ports. The poor lived in cramped conditions, struggling to afford bread as prices rose. Crime existed, and patrols of janissaries sought to keep order in the alleys. Women's lives were often restricted to the home, though some managed property or ran businesses. Taxes weighed heavily on peasants and craftsmen, funding the grandeur of court and army. Still, resilience defined the people. Through fire, disease, and hardship, Istanbul endured, rebuilt again and again by those who called it home. By the late 1500s, under Suleiman the Magnificent, the Ottoman Empire reached its zenith. Istanbul was at the center of the known world, admired by friend and feared by foe. Its streets carried the footsteps of millions of souls from countless lands. Its palaces and mosques stood as testaments to ambition and faith. Its markets connected east and west in a dance of trade and exchange. The people of the 16th century Istanbul lived lives both ordinary and extraordinary, bound by tradition, shaped by empire, yet filled with moments of joy, struggle, and resilience. To look at the city today is to hear the echoes of their voices, still whispering through the stones of mosques, the arches of bazaars, and the waters of the Bosphorus. Life in the Ottoman Empire in the 1500s was a tapestry. Threads of faith, commerce, power, and culture were woven together to create a civilization both diverse and enduring. From the call of the muezzin to the hum of the bazaar, from palace halls to humble kitchens, the people of Istanbul lived lives of meaning and memory. Their world may be gone, but its traces remain in the domes and minarets, in the coffee cups, and in the stories passed down. This was not only a city, it was a world entire.